So we want to talk about reading a file, and so let's first talk about creating a file. So what I'm going to do is create a file inside of this project. And so let's go File, New, okay, New File. All right, that's right. So this is inside of SL Computers. The file name is going to be numbers.txt. And so you can put really whatever you want, but .txt is for text files. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to read the numbers that are going to be on this file and then find the average of those numbers. Just something simple that we can do. Okay. So I'm going to finish that. Okay, so I want you to notice where that file goes. So if I close my src folder, the numbers.txt still shows up there, so it's inside of my SL Computers project folder, but not inside of the src folder and not inside of any of the packages that I have inside of there. All right, so that's the placement, that's where we want that file to go if we're going to read that file. Okay, so then what we want to do is just put some numbers in there. That's not a number. Okay, we're gonna okay. So we don't know how many numbers are in there necessarily when we open the file. I don't care what, your numbers don't have to match mine or anything like that. It's just the point that we have some random numbers in there that we're going to read and then find the average of. So I'm going to save that. So now I have this file called numbers.txt, and we're going to create a new class now. Okay. I'll just call it average the file. Maybe that's a terrible name for a class, but whatever. All right. Okay. So we can read a file using a scanner. Okay. So scanner. I'm just going to call my scanner file reader because that's what I want to do with it. And what I'm going to do right now is just set it to null, because when I instantiate my file reader, I want to instantiate it so that it's set up to read a file. So new scanner. And the way you do that is you make a connection to the file by saying new file and then saying the name of the file inside of the parentheses for the file. So the parameter going in here, or the argument going in here, is numbers.txt. Okay? So there's a bunch of stuff that you need to import there. Quick way to do an import, all right, is to do this organize imports. For me, it's Shift Command O on the keyboard. For you, it's Shift Control O, or you can just click that, and then it'll ask you what you want. So you want that scanner, the util scanner, and the IO file. Okay, so this error right here is happening because we have to catch the potential error, or the potential runtime error that could happen when we connect to a file. Okay, so there's some runtime exceptions, like we looked at input mismatch, that you don't have to catch, but it makes your program better if you do. It makes it more robust if you do. This is the type of exception that you have to catch. Okay, so this says the unhandled exception type file not found exception, and there might be some more stuff on there. So unhandled exception type file not found exception. What that means is we want to surround this with a try catch block. So if I mouse over that again, Eclipse will actually do that with me, or for me. So I can say surround this with a try catch, and now it filled in all of this stuff for me. Okay, try to make the file reader equal to a new scanner, catch the file not found exception, call it E, and then E.print stack trace is the stuff that you would normally see like in red text inside the console when something goes wrong. So if you wanted to do something different there, okay, like something that's a little bit simpler, like system.error.println, okay, then you could do something like file not found. Okay. So you can replace that. I'm just going to close this over here. All right, so then what we want to do is we want to read each number off of the file called numbers.txt, add that number to a sum, and then when we're all done with that, find the average. So in order to find the average, what do we also need to know besides each number and the sum? How many numbers there are, right? Okay, so we need variables for all three of those things. So int, we need a sum, okay? We need a number, and then let's just kind of have some fun with this, num of nums, okay? So sum, num, and num of nums. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say use a while loop, and while file reader dot has next, okay, we're going to do some stuff. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to read an int off of the file. So num equals file reader dot next int, okay. So just kind of thinking about what that's doing. I'll try to show you this over here. Okay, so this right here, this line 13, where it says file reader equals new scanner, it's opening this file numbers.txt and then putting the cursor basically right at the beginning of the file. Okay, saying while file reader.has next is checking if there's something to the right of the cursor. Okay, this then is reading that number, turning it into an int, and then assigning that number to num. Okay, so what do we want to do with num? We want to add it. What are we going to add num to? To the sum. So we're going to say sum equals sum plus num. Okay, so this is underlined right now because sum doesn't have an initial value, hasn't been initialized. So what do we want to set num equal to up here? Up to 0. Okay, good. All right. And the other thing that we want to do after we read a value, after we read 14, is do what? Make num of nums equal to num of nums plus 1. So we want to increase num of nums. Okay, and so we have a similar issue there, right? So what should num of nums be? Okay, so 0, good. All right. So this loop should continue to read, okay, the next number, and then go to the next value, the next number, 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 until there is no more thing to read. So until file reader dot has next is false. Okay. Once file reader dot has next is false, then what do we want to do? Yeah, then we want to find the average and output it, right? So we're going to go system.out. And I'm going to do the format thing just to kind of give us some practice with that. So we're going to go the average equals, and then let's go %f, because we expect the average to be a decimal, okay? Or I should say a double value, right? A float value. And then what we're going to do there is we're going to go cast sum to a double, and then divide it by num of nums. Okay, we're going to take that value, whatever this turns out to be, okay, and put it in place of this wildcard. So far, so good? So this is casting the sum to a double. So a sum is an int right now, so we got to make it into a double so that when we divide it, we get a decimal value back. Okay? So there's one more thing that we want to add onto this. You want to make sure anytime that you are reading from a file that you close the connection to the file. So we have to close the file reader. And let me just say that we're going to add an extra thing onto your understanding of try-catch blocks here at the same time. So there's another clause that you can put onto a try-catch, and that is a finally clause. Okay, so this means finally basically means to us like no matter if we had it file not found exception or anything like that, we want to make sure that we do this code. Okay, so that's what finally means. And basically what we're going to do in there is check to see that the file reader is not null. Okay, because up here we started it at null. Okay, we said file reader is null. Then we tried to make it into a scanner. If it's not null, then we want to close it. Okay. And let's just run this real quick. So the average equals 45,596.5 blah blah blah. Okay? So I guess the average of these 14 numbers is that value. All right?